Whew. Well, we finally got rain down here. I'll tell you what. And then, of course, it didn't last that long, because then here comes the sun. But anyway, I wanted to record a video because I am a cringe millennial, and I think that people need to hear my bullshit views. So here we go. Why the right has a love-hate relationship with Islam. I'll just call it the right and Islam. I'll go ahead and keep it simple. But the reality is this, is that amongst the dissident right, the reality is that it's seen, sorry for that's kind of gay. Okay. It's seen that, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, they're seen as freedom fighters because they are fighting Zog directly, right? Zionist occupied government. They're fighting them directly. And that's why they say, Inshallah, they do the, oh man, based. I remember a while back where there was a picture of two Hezbollah fighters with skull masks on. And of course, like I say, for those that know the skull mask, wig that thing, But anyway, it's seen as, I'm sorry, I'm showing you my shitty ass backyard. Anyway, they're seen as the base guys and whatnot. And there was talk in the background. There are plenty of folks who are like, no, Islam is our enemy and everything else like that. Doesn't mean we like Jews, but it means that we should create our own space separate from creating these bullshit ass alliances, And what happened? Well, October 7th happened. And a lot of right-wingers were like, I don't like Israel, but I really don't like Palestinians. I don't want to see these ugly brown people on my screen, raping, these women and shit like that. It's kind of fucked up. And so what happened? Well, a lot of us just became neutral. And so while I have said plenty of LARPy, edgy stuff about, oh, Hezbollah is so cool, or oh, this and that, I realized deep down it's like, no, they are fighting for their own thing. They're not with us. And you saw in the coming months after October 7th, a lot of folks I think that were anti-Semitic that suddenly became more Zionistic and somewhat philo-Semitic. And we saw, like I say, there's that famous Landshark post where he's like, yeah, anti-Semitism should be a secret society like the French did. It's not meant for grug, ordinary people who just start to say, oh, the Jews and oy vey goyim and whatnot, because they realized that was cringe and stupid. And, you also saw the anti-Zionists and the anti-Semitic types that wouldn't normally see the 4chan stuff. Finally found like all the 4chan threads on Jews and stuff like that on AIPAC. And they're like, oh shit, we could use this. We just need to put our little twist on it to make it seem that we're not so anti-Semitic. And it's just more of a, look at the truth of it. And I think a lot of folks are just like, what the fuck? We spent decades doing all this research. And schizo posting and autism posting. And you're just gonna take it from us? And it's like, well, fuck you. And so that was really the attitude of it. And I think a lot of folks just kind of gave up on, supporting either one. And you just realize it's stupid, And I think that Asmongold, and of course, as we remember Asmongold, with his recent banning and whatnot for 2 weeks, I think it was, or 13 days, because he said, yeah, Palestinians are not like us and whatnot. And even though he's talking about like gay rights as well, which I'm like, nah, I don't like that either. That's not part of Western culture. It shouldn't be. But, he was right. That's like, yeah, Palestinians are not, they're not your friends. They're not your allies. And they're not, their culture is inferior and stuff like that. Yeah, we do agree. And I think that a lot of right-wingers kind of stood up for that. And kind of push back against the dissident right sort of guys who were like, yeah, they're fighting Israel though. They're fighting Zog. Yeah, but do they fight for us, though? Do they fight for some unified thing? No. No, they don't. And, you know, a lot of people just kind of woke up to it. And the last point I'll mention in this short video is that we saw Nick Fuentes and Lucas Gage make themselves look like absolute fucking retards. Because they're like, yeah, you know, I support brown people, I support Palestine. And then, of course, once they do that, then they get all the cringe folks who are like, yeah, actually, you know, Israel is a white supremacist country, and, you know, it's all based around, you know, white, you know, separatism and shit like that. And which is also another talking point where it's like, no, they just think that Israel is a white country. And, of course, Jews aren't white, you know. And if you're a true anti-Semite, you realize that the Jews aren't white. Jews are their own separate thing. And even Zionists and, you know, and like super duper, you know, Jewish nationalists will be like, yeah, Jews aren't white. We are not white. We have nothing to do with white culture and all that sort of thing. And that's something that we can agree on. That's one of the most basic things. But the dumb Palestinians and the dumb brown people don't realize that. They don't want to. They want to try to hook it into a larger movement of, you know, like the ex-BLM folks and whatnot. White supremacy! Israel is actually white supremacist! It's like, no, it's Jewish. But, you know, that's the cold hard reality of it. And I think you can simplify it into that one statement, is that Jews aren't white. And when you just say that simple phrase of Jews aren't white, that's what separates everybody. And of course, Jews aren't white, and brown people aren't your friends. That's really how you can simplify it. Jews aren't white, and brown people aren't your friends. You can simplify it in that phrase. And we saw Lucas Gage eventually be like, well, you know, the anti-Zionist Jews are the ones that are getting involved with this and have ruined, you know, our Muslim-Christian alliance and all this. It's like, no, it's because you're a fucking retard. And you thought that because just because they're anti-Semitic does not make them your friend. Period. You know? And I think that's one of the things that people need to realize. Like, no, if white folks are going to stand up, white folks are going to have to stand up together as a group. And then, once that alliance and that true solidarity, quote-unquote, is created, then you can create alliances. Until that point, don't bother. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. See you later. Goodbye.